Are you looking for actionable insights from the world's most inspiring individuals? The Built by Love podcast is on a mission to transform your life, your business, and your health. Tune in for impactful conversations with people who do business differently. Avoid burnout, acquire freedom, and live life fully on your own terms. With me, Pete Daly-Dixon, alongside Daniel Bushas. How many minds does it take to build a business with love? The answer is it all starts with one, and that one is you. With the right mindset, you can achieve anything. Listen to this episode to hear what Daniel and I have learned about mindset across our combined 60 plus years in business. For me, it was really quite recently this year. I was at an online event and the speaker, successful, multiple six-figure coaching business. And she shared that when she got to her third anniversary, she just got to six figures. The thing that she said after that was the thing that this one little nugget. She said, if I could go back to day one again, I would just go all in on my mindset. And I know that if I had, I would have, what took me 3 years, I would have done in one, just all in on mindset. And I've heard about mindset and I've known about mindset since I read my first self-help book when I was 16 and a half, 17 years old. But it never really hit home of the importance until that moment now. And it actually coincided with Daniel sharing a story with me when we reconnected about experience he'd had with hypnosis. And I've just gone all in with hypnosis and affirmations and just flooding my mind with doing the mindset work to overturn 55 years of the opposite. And I know that the results that I've had in the last three months are testament to that.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like mindset is so important, because as business owners, as parents, it's just as people that have multiple segments or buckets of your life that blend. And as an entrepreneur, you really can't have separation. You can try your best, but the reality is you have a bad day at work, you're going to bring it home, and just everything in between. I think having the ability to understand and have this checkpoint of, okay, if I'm really, really focused on trying to hit this goal in my business, I know that likely something, either my relationships or my personal health is likely going to take a hit somewhere, somehow. And if you're driving hard here, you need to offset that and balance it rather than just keep going forward. And most entrepreneurs, they're trying to hit seven figures or they've gone over seven figures and now they're trying to scale to that next plateau. They're experiencing that. That was something that changed my life too. I was so focused and I was really so miserable. And you'd think at a level of success that you should be ecstatic, and it was quite the opposite. I had to basically retrain my brain. And when I went through sleep hypnosis, and that's what helped transform my life, was it broke down barriers, beliefs that I had in my head that affected and impacted how I did business, how I handled relationships, and everything in between, and how I dealt with stress and everything. And so what was the pivotal point that changed? And it's really that of like, okay, I've got to a point of which should be amazing success. And on paper, it looks amazing, but the reality of living in there is pure hell. And so assessing like, well, how do we undo this? Because there is a way to have more happiness, more joy, more balance. Nothing will ever be perfect. And that's the beauty of life. Like Pete was saying, is you got to start with mindset and then everything else will fall in line.
And it's this whole area that we're talking about now in terms of success and apparent success is exacerbated with social media. Daniel mentioned that he looked for me on social media. It's one of the things that I did at the end of 21. I just came off everything, LinkedIn, Facebook. I was never on Instagram anyway, Twitter, what have you. And it's so, my mum has a saying that comparisons are odious. It's so innately part of the human condition, I think, that when we see something, to compare it. It's almost like a Pavlovian response that we see something and we compare ourselves to it. And what you see on LinkedIn in terms of people posting about success, you can't compare yourself to that, because they are on their own journey, and they're only showing selected bits of that journey. So unless you're on that same journey, you're not going to see the whole picture.
Villains are damaged. And in any story, they briefly tell you something that happened that created this villain that is now taking vengeance for whatever injustice has happened to them. As human beings that are aiming for goals, ambitious goals and objectives and things in life, and looking on social media and elsewhere and seeing people being applauded and talking about all their success and not understanding like what are the other layers that are happening from within in their life. Are all things good? Maybe, maybe not. That we start to build damage. I think the gist of it and the whole reason about Built by Love is we really have to figure out, on not just from the business side. I know for me, I was just driving to this number, right? And the number, once I hit it, actually had no meaning. It was just a status of like, I've hit this number, and now I'm in a different class. And I was miserable. My life was worse. And I remember looking back on, literally like 8 years earlier, and I was like, I was happier and I was actually more profitable at this lower level than where I am now. In your relationships and your personal health and the experiences that you have on this earth. And then in your business, I think you need to find your guiding light, which is love. What do you love about your business? What do you love that your business does for your customers or clients that excites you and fulfills some part of the bigger picture of why you exist on earth? And what do you love in life? Is it like having experiences with your family or just whatever those things are? Traveling and having, if you don't have a family, having your own experiences or whatever. And then, with the relationships, which again kind of tie back to what I was saying about experiences, and maybe it's travel or whatever, finding those things that really bring you joy and making sure that everything you move forward with is actually driving. The end result is that. Because so many times we get focused on like, if I just lose X amount of pounds, or if I just, hit this revenue number, and we kind of lose the vision and the focus of, we're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. We're not guaranteed anything actually, other than like our time here is limited. And so let's focus on the things that can make the world a better place, that can make us a better place, and that can make our meaning today, tomorrow, and every day thereafter, that we're building somewhat of a legacy that improves everything, ourselves and everyone around us, and those that matter most to us. And so if we can focus on love, and we can focus on building love throughout every facet of our life, then we will win the day. We will achieve the goals, and we will have a higher level of happiness and health and meaning and purpose in life. And I think that's what we really want at the most basic level. That's what we yearn for.
Daniel's mentioned a couple of times about making the world a better place, changing the world. Some philosophers said that so many people talk about changing the world, but they don't talk about changing themselves. And that's where ultimately the change has to take place first. The Beatles said, all you need is love. And that is all you need. It sounds woo-woo. This is ultimately a business podcast, and it sounds airy-fairy. We're talking about love. Where's the stats? Where's the metrics? Where's the numbers? There is a place for that. Obviously, you can't build a successful business without some care and attention on that kind of hard, quantifiable stuff. But what we're talking about here is the thing that infuses life into those numbers, which are the kind of metric of how you're doing in business. Life is love. Without love, there's no life, and without love, there's no business.
We're all chasing it. We're all chasing it in our own way, form, and fashion. We're all chasing it, right? And so we might as well integrate it right into our DNA of everything we do. So then it's front and center. Because so many times we just get confused. We just, we get jaded, and we start chasing material things or status things or things that are inconsequential and don't bring us joy, right? And so when I see these people that are like all over the social media of like someone pulling up in a Ferrari and it's like, how did you get your success or own this Ferrari or Lamborghini? And let me tell you, and it's like, me personally, and maybe this is different for every person. I'm like, I've thought about it. Okay, well, I could spend $250,000 on a Lamborghini. I've literally thought about it. And I was like, oh, I could write it off and all that stuff. What good is that going to do really to me? Sit in my driveway and be more of a worry and concern of driving it down the road and something happening to it or whatever. And how is that going to improve my family's life? How is that going to improve my business overall? How is that going to improve the world? At the end of the day, whatever day that is, that I'm laying on my deathbed or, I have just a short time to live, am I going to be sitting there like, that Lamborghini sure was nice? Or am I going to look back on how I made an impact to a charity or to someone that needed help or my family or left a better legacy somewhere?
I'm reminded when you were talking of Jim Rohn. One of the things he's famously quoted as saying is everybody should strive to become a millionaire, not for the money in the bank, but for who you have to become in the process. And I've always thought that business entrepreneurship is the perfect playground. And I use that word deliberately for personal growth. And personal growth is not about getting more money in the bank. It's about growing. It's about becoming the best possible version of yourself that you can be.
If someone's listening to that and they're in agreement of like, hey, I want to make the world a better place, then this is your home. These are the things we're going to talk about. And if you're listening to that and you're turned off by it, like, no, I want the Lamborghini and I want the status and I want the Rolex. Well, that's fine. But if you're not actually giving back to anyone, you're just self-serving. Well, that's not built by love. And those are not the people that I want to attract, to inspire and follow and listen to Pete and I.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Built by Love podcast. If you found the conversation inspiring or helpful in any way, then head to builtbylove.com/podcast and make sure you're subscribed to our email list. Please also take a few minutes to leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts and share this episode with a friend that you think it might help. Each review helps us to spread the message of love to more people. See you next time on the Built by Love podcast.